Hi, everybody. Welcome to, no, it hasn't started yet. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Think From Home with Confirm It. Today, we have a special guest with us. We have Stan Phelps, who is the author of, and I'm going to read this so that I don't get it wrong, The Pink Goldfish, Defy Normal, Exploit Imperfection, and Captivate Your Customers. So we're really excited to have Stan join us today for Think From Home by Confirm It. Before we get started, I just want to ask you the usual stuff. You know, my social media person will freak out if I don't. So you have to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. You know the drill. Anyway, so we brought Stan with us today because I think there's a really fantastic opportunity for insights professionals to kind of think outside the box a little bit. Again, with Stan's book, Pink Goldfish, it's all about finding ways to really just improve the customer experience, improve your targeting. There's so much behind it that allows you to differentiate, but it is called Pink Goldfish, which you might notice I'm not quite in my usual attire today. I am wearing as much pink as my children's wardrobe would allow because I have nothing pink. And just to prove it, I have a white card here because I know on video it doesn't come out well. I'm in pink. And as you will remember, with Think From Home, we always spend quality time, of course, drinking through the event. So I've also brought a pink drink. I'm doing hard kombucha today. So Stan, I'm giving you a nod here. I'm all in pink. Confirm it's usually the orange company, but I think we have a great opportunity to mix pink and orange here today. So with that, Stan, thank you for coming. Really excited to be here. I think this is just a really fantastic opportunity for us to discuss your book and how it applies in the real world, how it applies to people like, customer experience professionals and marketers and even research professionals, market research professionals, what they can do with it. But right now, I don't want to assume that everybody's read your book. They should have, clearly, but They might not have. So can we step back 1 second? And could you give us the 30,000-foot view? What is it? What does it mean? What does it do? Tell us, what is Pink Goldfish all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Holly. And just for posterity's sake, I am drinking a New Belgium Voodoo Ranger Atomic Pumpkin. So let it be known
that is orange.
Yeah, but the season of everything pumpkin spiced has now officially begun.
Absolutely.
So the idea of a pink goldfish is really simple. The goldfish and the idea of being pink is simply a metaphor for differentiation. You mentioned, how do you kind of think outside of the box? I would say more like think outside of the bowl. How do you create an experience that's remarkable? And what's interesting is I think we get so bogged down in marketing or in customer experience that we're always looking at benchmarking. Mm-hmm. We always want to look to see what the leader is doing. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, a lot of times we start to emulate those attributes and those things that the leader in our category or segment does. And so Pink Goldfish is really about what we call anti-benchmarking. How do you embrace what makes you weird, weak, and different? And how do you amplify potentially even weakness to break out of that norm and conformity? So mm-hmm. Pink is really just a way of, and in the book, we looked at over 250 companies. We found out that there's 7 different ways that you can stand out.
Gotcha. You going to give us a clue on any of those 7 ways to stand out, or
so
don't go into too much detail because we do have a webinar upcoming where we're going to go into deep dive on this.
Right. And so the kind of cornerstone of the book is this idea of embracing our flaws.
Yeah.
And that the flaws are the things that actually can make us awesome, or mm-hmm. as we say in the book, flawsome.
Yes.
And so the F stands for flaunting, the L is lopsiding, antagonizing, withholding, swerving, opposing, and lastly, micro-weirding.
I like that, micro weirding. I often feel very weird myself, so especially in this shirt because it's quite loud. Okay, so we're talking about embracing your weirdness, embracing your flaws, etc. And I put flaws in air quotes because once you read the book, I think it's a matter of really understanding that maybe your flaws are not so bad as maybe you thought they were, which I think is a really fantastic perspective. But how do you think, from your perspective, there's a crossover, I think, between customer experience, the realm we operate in, and what you're talking about this differentiating through your weirdness, through your flaws. Today, from our perspective, more and more companies are, the customer is always right, and they're looking at, building these amazing customer experience programs because this is a key differentiator. It has been, right? But now everybody's got a customer experience program. Everybody's looking at the customer always being right. So the question is, how can embracing your weirdness help to improve your customer experience?
Well, first off, I would say it used to be that your brand was kind of the promise that you made plus the experience that the customer does. And it used to be that we could kind of tell people what our brand is. And I think we have to come to the realization that that's no longer applicable, right? Your brand is no longer what you tell people it is. It's what your customer experiences. It's what they feel. But most importantly, Holly, it's what they tell other people about that experience. And so I think now we're looking at your brand as your experience. As a friend of mine, CEO of the American Marketing Association, says, the experience to the power of story.
Right.
So what are you giving your customers the ability to be able to talk about when they have that experience? And how do you stand out in a way that makes you memorable and distinctive in the eyes of the marketplace? And you mentioned something really interesting, that, this mantra that, the customer is always right.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason I wrote this original series is because I lived less than a quarter of a mile from in a famous grocery store called Stu Leonard's. Are you familiar with Stu's, Holly?
No, not familiar at all.
So started in Connecticut. They actually have wine stores in New Jersey, but they're in New York and Connecticut. The most profitable grocery store per square foot in the world. Ripley's, believe it or not, says the world's largest dairy store. And
Wow.
if you walk into any of those stores, there's this amazing piece of granite. It's a rock at the front of the store. It says, here we only have two rules. One, the customer is always right. And then rule number two is, if the customer is wrong, reread rule number one.
I've seen signs like that. Yes.
And, like Sam Walton, of Walmart said, look, there's only one boss, and that's the customer, and they can fire at us at any time because all they have to do is spend their money somewhere else.
Exactly.
And so I think we've perpetuated this idea that the customer is always right, many times to the detriment of our own employees and to our overarching brand. And so I think and I didn't coin this, but I think this is true. The customer isn't always right, but they have the right to be heard. And that's why you want voice of the customer, because you want that feedback. But here's the thing. I think where we go wrong is sometimes we go, look, we want to try to appeal to everyone. And here's the thing, and this is just a truism. If you try to please everyone, who do you end up pleasing, Holly?
Absolutely no one.
So here's the thing. We spend so much time thinking about, like, who is in our target market. I think we should at least spend a little time thinking about who is in our anti-target market. Who do we never want doing business with us? And here's the thing. one of the ways we talked about is antagonizing. So if you can actually push some of those in that anti-target, you push them away, what does that do for your target? It actually pulls your target in if you can repel that anti-target market. So a great example, we're working on the 2.0 of the book, but if you're familiar, there's a resort in Utah called Snowbird.
I've been there.
Oh, you have? Okay, great.
Yes, yes.
So they ran a campaign a little over a year ago where it's these amazing pictures of the mountain, but all the text is 1-star reviews. So,
interesting.
And here's the thing. If you remember from Snowbird, it is a very difficult mountain, right? And so some of the 1-star reviews is like, I almost felt like my life was in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
And what Snowbird is saying is, hey, if you're a beginner skier, don't come here.
Maybe you shouldn't be here. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But if you're a serious snowboarder or skier, our terrain might be perfect for you.
Yep.
And I think that's that flies in the face. We try to hide our 1-star reviews. Here they were running a campaign shining a light on those.
Right. There's another example of antagonizing that I personally loved, Alamo Drafthouse, and I'm hoping you'll share that story, because I think it kind of defies the customer is always right perspective, which, I think, you're right. Customers need to be listened to. They need to be heard. Voice of the customer is extremely important, but it doesn't mean you need to change the way you are in order to accommodate them. Sometimes it means you need to do a better job targeting them, or targeting the right customers. And I think Alamo was just such a great story about how they live and breathe what they claim, whether customers like it or not. Because if the customers who don't like it, they don't like it, well, they're probably the wrong customer. So I'm hoping you can tell us that story, because I think people are going to love that one.
Yeah, so let me give you a little background on Alamo. So Alamo is based out of Austin, Texas, and the Alamo Drafthouse, I'm finding it right here. So the Alamo Drafthouse is a chain of movie theaters. They now have 30 theaters all around the country. Great food, unbelievable beer selection, and they're super serious about the movie going experience. So first off, under 18, you can't go to the Alamo Drafthouse, right? If you're 14 or 15-year-old and you want to go, they actually force you to pass a test in order to be able to go to the movie theater. So they have a rule that when you walk into the auditorium, and it's a huge sign that says, from this moment on, this is no talking and no texting. We don't want to hear from you. And so a number of years ago, there was a woman who, I don't know if she didn't see the sign or if she was tipping a few back, but she started texting and talking, and they don't even warn you. They escort you out of the theater. They don't give you your money back. And so she went home, Holly, and you probably heard it. She left them a scathing, 2.5-minute voicemail talking about how unfair it was, that they were wrong, that she's never coming back. She's going to tell all her friends. I do this everywhere else. And what's amazing, you would think most brands, what would they do when they got that phone call?
Oh, they beg for forgiveness.
Yeah, the customer's always right? Oh, we're so sorry about your experience. Can I refund you the money? Can I maybe give you a coupon? Please don't write a bad review about us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's interesting is that they didn't call her back. Who did they decide to call? They called their lawyers. And they said, hey, can we use this recording? And the lawyers didn't, but think a second, and they said, she knew she was being recorded. Go ahead, you can use it. And so they put it together as a blog post. They've now crafted it as a PSA. So they play it before a movie to warn people. And you can imagine, if do yourself a favor, go on YouTube, Alamo Drafthouse Texter, I think is the video. But here's the thing. I mean, they want to create a great experience for customers that are like them, that
Yep.
really appreciate the movie going experience. And when you're on your phone, Anderson Cooper did an entire story. He's like, texting in a movie is like holding up a road flare.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to see it. And they've been extremely successful because of this strategy. In fact, Entertainment Weekly named them the best movie theater in all of America.
Wow. Yeah, I love that one. I love how, so the way I see this, you're looking at a reframe of the customer experience. Because again, it moves away from that customer is always right. And at the same time, you're looking at marketing opportunities. So this is a really fantastic opportunity for the customer experience team and the marketing team to start working more closely together to find these opportunities. But the one thing that strikes me through this, I'm in marketing. Um, when I look at my company, there's not a single flaw, not one in the world. It's perfect.
Now you're for
Uh,
everybody. Everyone loves you. Life is
exactly.
good.
It's so hard when that's what's in your head, or when you're neck deep, especially in an area of a business like marketing, where it's my job to, I'm paid to talk well about the company. That becomes a reality. No matter how hard you try, I can't see beyond that. How
Right.
can somebody like me, and I think there's probably, well, there might be some people going, no, I hate my company, but many of us will recognize this story as, I don't know what my flaws are. How can I or anyone else step back and find out what makes us weird? What makes us unique? What makes us different? What are these flaws, or perceived flaws, that we
Right.
can maybe play with a little bit?
Yeah. So here's the thing. And I live in the South now. I'm in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina. I came here from living up in the Northeast. But one of my favorite Southern proverbs is this: you can't see the label when you're sitting inside the jar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, you know, of course, what we want to do is we want to think about ways to reach out to the customers that are already doing business with us. And we want to understand, why do they do business with us? Is it because we're extremely good at attributes that are important to them?
Right.
They probably have worked with one or two of our competitors, right? Why do they keep coming back? I think you also want to talk to your employees as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, why do you work here? You've probably worked other places. Why do you see us? What's unique about us as a company and our approach? And then lastly, I think a lot of people miss this, because this is genius. You should also spend time reaching out to your suppliers.
Very
And the
good point.
reason being is that your suppliers do business with you, but they also do business with probably almost all of your competition. So why
Right.
wouldn't you bend their ear to get a unique perspective, more of a 360 perspective? And here's the thing, I want to clarify one thing, because we're not asking you to potentially manufacture what makes you unique. This is the idea. The idea of a pink goldfish is two things. It's really simple. It's embracing what makes you unique or weird. So that stuff that's just inherent in your company, like, you don't have to manufacture it. Or, and this is harder for people, Holly, it's being intentional about potentially doing less of what everyone else considers just the norm, right? And sometimes by doing less and pulling back, that gives you the license to stand out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And looking back at what you're saying here, when you're looking to get, all right, sorry to use the term, but you want that voice of the customer, you want
Right.
that voice of the employee, you want that voice of the partner, and I mean, ultimately, this is for the customer experience people who are hopefully joining us today and watching. This is what you do. You're gathering this information. It's just a matter of this ability to work in partnership with maybe other areas of the business to spread this. You've already collecting this information. Share it, get it out to the people who can use it, and show them that there are other ways where the customer experience can apply in marketing and sales, etc. So it's all these voices that you may already be collecting. Maybe it does require a tweak to your surveys here or there, or the data you're collecting. But I can add another interesting perspective onto it, is that you can often take not only the voices you're collecting from the direct feedback that's being given to you, but there's also the indirect feedback, the things that are being said out on social media, that are being put on rating and review sites, whether you like them or not. But there's one other too, is the ability to then take other data that may be hidden in your third-party business systems. So transactional data, financial data, how people are spending, et cetera. So you can actually figure out too, what kind of behaviors are happening together with the things that people are saying. So you've got the feedback and the behaviors at the same time. So you can get a really broad perspective and understanding of what people are saying, what makes you unique, what makes you awesome, where are the flaws, what flaws are good, what flaws, and good flaws, or I should say good flaws, what flaws are bad, what can you actually leverage. So this is a huge opportunity for customer experience, but I think this is also a huge opportunity for market researchers. Who, if you weren't paying attention because you're thinking, oh, she's just talking about customer experience today, this is a market research opportunity as well. Because once you get into a world where you decide you want to start sharing this out, to the world, now we're talking about some scary stuff. If you're going to go out and you're going to take an advertisement like, or messaging like Alamo Drafthouse did, or you're going to, like Snowbird in Utah, you want to share that message of, your 1-star reviews. That is terrifying for a business. Oh my God, that's the worst thing in the world. But, it reminds me of this movie, and I told you about it, Stan, in advance, this movie from the very early 90s. It may have even been like 1990. It's called Crazy People with Dudley Moore. And if you're easily offended, don't watch it. It is not politically correct in any way, shape, or form. But if you're willing to, put aside any concerns of those sorts and just get a really good laugh, the movie is hilarious. It's about absolute 100% truth in advertising in a very scary way. And it is really funny for anybody who's interested, but it reminds me of that where, in the movie, there's the bigwigs and the executives are going, oh my God, what have you done? Because these ads leak out accidentally, like actually go public. And there are these really grotesque billboards that are up. And the thing is, the businesses end up seeing their sales numbers skyrocketing because people are like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But, there's a safe way to proceed. We were talking about the customer experience kind of feeding into that idea of how do you find your weirdness, the employee experience, partner experience, et cetera. But beyond that, now on the market research side, you've got ad testing and concept testing that can help you test the waters before you dive in and end up regretting your decision. You can know how this is, have an inkling as to how this is going to work. What are your thoughts on that, Stan?
I wholeheartedly agree because, and I've written 2 entire books on this. One is the idea that not all of your customers are created equal. Like I used to believe you just treated all of your customers the same. Well, when you really peel back the layers, and this is where research comes in, and I love the fact of, tying it to business metrics, you find out to almost like 1 or 2 percentage points that your top 20% of customers drive 80% of your profitability.
Yep.
So look, if you get a complaint from somebody who's in that top 20%, like that's something that you really want to listen to. But if you've got a complaint from somebody who's already an unprofitable customer, it's not quite apples to apples.
Right.
The other thing is, the book, so that one is the golden goldfish, the idea that taking care of your vital few and listening to them. The other one is what I call the blue goldfish. So how do you leverage technology, data, and analytics, right, to be smarter, to be able to serve up a more personalized experience, one that's more responsive? And so absolutely, if I was Snowbird, I would have, without A/B testing, with either focus groups or in a small market, I would never, as much as I felt like that was true to the brand, I wouldn't have went, nation or global wide without testing it. And I think that's one of the great things that we can do now is that we can A/B test stuff. And we talk about it in the book, some of these strategies like lopsiding, which is doubling and tripling down, or withholding, which is, example of withholding, REI closes on Black Friday. Like that is, it's the reason why it's called Black Friday is that's the day that you get into the black. That's pretty courageous to shut down not only 150 stores, but your website for the entire day.
Do they really? Wow.
Lopsiding and withholding are very drastic strategies. Now, so you'd want to test them. But I would also tell you that for things like micro weirding, which are little things that you can do with the customer experience, that you definitely want to go out and test them. And so one of my favorite examples, Holly, is it deals with a fast food restaurant. And these researchers wanted to test how impactful a greeting when you walk through the door that somebody greeted you and a small gift would be before you purchased your food. So imagine walking into Wendy's or McDonald's or Burger King and somebody greets you or somebody gives you a small gift. And the small gift was either a keychain, like total tchotchke keychain, or a small sample of yogurt. And what was interesting, they did this before that customer ever ordered. And the punchline is this: when they tested it, they had 4 groups. A control group that got nothing, one group that just got the gift, one that got the greeting but no gift, and then obviously one that got both the greeting and the gift. And it turned out if you went in there and you ordered your food, and you didn't get anything, you ordered $7.11 worth of food. Mm-hmm. If you got the greeting when you walked through the door, $8.39. If you got the gift, but you didn't get the greeting, $9.39. And if you got both the greeting and the gift, $10.41.
Wow.
Think about that. That's a 46% increase in sales that they were able to test just by doing that little bit of, we call it like micro weirding.
Right.
So there's a reason why when you walk into a Moe's that people go, welcome to Moe's, right? And I love Moe's not only because of that weirdness, but because I'm an acronym guy. Moe's stands for musicians, outlaws, and entertainers. And one of the weird things one of the weird things that they do at Moe's, and this is going to sound creepy, they only play artists that have passed away.
Interesting.
Yeah, only dead musicians, they'll play their music.
Well, rock and roll heaven has to be somewhere. The Righteous Brothers said so. So now we know it's at Moe's.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's just so insanely important to be researching and testing this. And this again sort of highlights that partnership. I know in our world, customer experience, market research, other areas of the business, they all tend to think that they're very, very separate. But the truth is they can't survive alone. This is an area where market researchers can be going to their clients and saying, hey, listen, here's an idea for you. What if we played with some of these negative reviews? What if we do a little A/B testing and see if they might be valuable? We've got customer experience people that can work with those researchers and say, here's the trouble we're having. Here are the flaws we see. Here are this feedback we're getting. They can take that to market research. They can take that to marketing. Marketing can lead the whole process. This is an incredible opportunity to really change the game. When we thought we were differentiating before, we know that differentiation in having a great customer experience is increasingly becoming the norm. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity for us to be doing more. And I love having little bits like this where we can talk about these sort of unusual or different angles where we can find ways to do so much more with our customer experience, with our market research, with our businesses. We are, however, running low on time. So I want to let everybody know, we didn't go into a lot of detail today, and that was intentional. Because we do have this webinar coming up where Stan and I are going to go into a lot more detail and really talk through that marriage of the customer experience, market research, and Pink Goldfish, and the beauty there, and really deep dive a little bit more into Pink Goldfish, because I think this is something that it's really important. It's an opportunity that cannot be overlooked. So the webinar, where we're going to go into that detail, is for September 22nd. You can register for it on confirmit.com. Hop over there, register for the webinar. As a little added bonus, in addition to being able to spend an hour or so with Stan and I once again, which I know you're just dying to do, or maybe you want to see Stan, but you're stuck with me. Regardless, you will also, anybody who attends the webinar, not you registrants, you actually have to show up. If you show up for the webinar, we're also going to give you a free copy of Stan's book, Pink Goldfish. So it's a really awesome thing that's coming up. Again, September 22nd, go to www.confirmit.com to register. And we're looking forward to seeing you there. Don't miss it, or you won't get your book, and you'll only be able to watch it in the video recording, which, again, no book for video recordings. You have to be there. So Stan, this is awesome. I've had so much fun, and I got to wear a really loud pink shirt, pink and black, and drink pink alcohol.
Yeah, cheers. You're going to have to dial it up for when we get together on September.
I am. I'm going out
22nd.
And I'm buying an awesome pink shirt, and it's going to have I'm going to do something. You're going to be surprised. It's going to be fantastic. I just haven't thought about what that is yet. So be surprised on the 22nd. So everybody else, again, once again, I'll just remind you the like, subscribe, comment, et cetera, et cetera. And if you have questions, the webinar is coming up. We will be taking questions on the webinar. So prepare yourself with whatever questions you walked away with from here. Maybe you want to run out and read the book yourself, and then come with, opportunity to ask questions to Stan directly. Again, September 22nd, you can register at www.confirmit.com, and that's CONFIRMIT, which, if you're on any of our social pages watching this, you should know. But regardless, you have it now. So thank you again for joining us. We've had a wonderful time. Stan, thank you. This was absolutely awesome. And I'm looking forward to spending some time with you again on the 22nd of September.
Thanks, Holly. Have a
Cheers.
great rest of the day.
You
Cheers.
too.